I gotta say, folks, this is quite interesting. So, with the war heightening in Iran between Israel, the United States, and Iran, obviously, with any war, there's going to be propaganda. You go back to the 1940s of Germany, you saw, the posters that were up across Germany. You saw, the propaganda used in the early 2000s when it was the Iraq invasion. You saw, the Gulf War when they had the little girl cry about incubator babies. Like, there's always going to be propaganda attached to any war because they need to sell the idea of war. They need to sell you the idea of terror so that we send people to go fight terror and then realize years after, when we finally get the truth of the matter, that a lot of the terror that we're fighting is actually manufactured by the people that are telling us where the terror is. And that's just how barbaric all this is, and why someone like me considers myself very anti-war across the board. I don't consider war should only be a last resort to anything by any means. We should be doing everything we can to find diplomatic solutions with any country. I don't think going down this path is good or beneficial for anybody. And we're definitely seeing that right now. It's not good for Israel. It's not good for the United States. It's not good for Iran. It's not good for the rest of the world that's going to experience this entire collapse. But what's very interesting and why I bring this up is because Iran is coming up with actual interesting propaganda pieces. So for the United States, we're kind of seeing a bit of deja vu. When you see our elected leaders in the West trying to regurgitate, propaganda from the early 2000s saying that Iran has weapons of mass destruction. They're closer to a nuclear weapon than ever before. They said that 40 years ago. And now apparently it's closer and getting closer and closer and closer. It's just kind of remarkable that people still fall for that, but that's the method that apparently the United States is using. Israel using propaganda saying that, we have to destroy the homes and we have to go after the children because eventually they're going to grow up to be terrorists. So we got to take out their families. And then, of course, the biblical prophecy, which anyone with access to Google or the internet or AI, whatever search engine you use, can easily debunk that. Can easily debunk the whole biblical myth of the fact that we have to start this war because it's the second coming of the Messiah or the choosing of their Messiah. Absolutely crazy. Iran, however, decided to take a more playful approach. And I'm going to show it to you here, folks. This is kind of interesting. So, Ryan Razbani, this is from, they call themselves Explosive News Team. And apparently this is a studio where they use AI-generated content to share on social media about this war coming from Iran. And he says, new Lego animation video from Explosive News Team in Iran titled Kamani Again. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I do apologize. Kameni? I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but I'm just going off by the spelling. It looks like Kameni. So they did this AI piece using Lego animation, which that's kind of interesting. That all these years we've been told about Iran being Stone Age people and they don't have any connection to Western culture. They don't have any ideas on how to be civil. That's why we got to go in and intervene. We need to teach them about civilization and liberty and freedoms. They're going to greet us as liberators. But what this is actually showing is they're actually kind of like us, which is what I've been saying throughout this whole process, that all these countries kind of are similar. They just may have different stances on certain things. They may have different cultures, but when it comes down to it, we're all human beings. We all have some sort of connection to that makes us human. And it's kind of going in that direction when Iran posts these kinds of videos. So here, for example, this is one of the ones here. Take a look.
Yeah. You cross the ocean just...
Oh, hold on. I do apologize. I'm going to have to probably mute this because it's copyright. You can see Lego animation, Donald Trump. Sacrifice your own boys for a lie. Listen. So there's him, casino, make America great again. So it's a music video. It's a music video of explaining just in detail of where this is getting to. Of course, in the Epstein files. Of course, a missile that says loser. There's Netanyahu. So there's Iran making fun of the fact that his polling is dropping. Losing the bet. That's why they're referring the casino. Like that's pretty impressive for AI animation. Then there's Trump falling into the pile with the Epstein files around him. Making reference to Benjamin Netanyahu being controlling of Trump. Stock market collapsing. So you get the picture there. You get the picture there. I gotta admit, like it's one of those things where it's like you don't expect this kind of level. And again, as I stated, that all wars have some sort of propaganda. We know that the United States is using propaganda, but a lot of the United States propaganda is just backfiring. It's the simple notion of get along with this, or you're crazy, or an anti-Semite, or you're a conspiracy nut. That's why they're going after, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and even Megyn Kelly, who Megyn Kelly is a Zionist, but apparently not Zionist enough. And then just regurgitating information that they heard 20 years ago and trying to fool America again because they think Americans all have amnesia. But you were alive in the 2000s, like I was a child then, but I still kind of have those illusions to understanding, yeah, weapons of mass destruction. You already played that card before. So why am I supposed to believe that it's happening now? Also, you did the 12-day war that was supposed to eliminate all the nuclear weapons. So why again are we doing this? Why again is this happening? Well, we know that there's a connection to Israel. And Israel has its own propaganda force saying that this is, we have to do this because they're connected to Hezbollah and Hamas and all these terror proxies around the world. We're stopping all the world's terrorists in one spot. And then, of course, there's also the biblical portion, which, again, anyone with basic understanding, you can do a Google search, can easily debunk how ridiculous that is, how just insane and insidious it is to have that mentality, to have that death cult mentality, which Zionism is a death cult mentality, to believe that in order for the second coming of Jesus Christ or the new Messiah, that you have to wipe out an entire population of people and extend that to wiping out further of the entire globe. That is just insidious, folks. So, having Lego animation coming from Iran, highlighting this is pretty remarkable. I gotta say that. It's pretty remarkable. Now, that's not me defending Iran. That's not me saying, being supportive of it. I'm just saying that considering what the United States is putting out and what Israel's pointing out, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. And there's a lot more to this. So here again, Ryan Ramzani, this is another one. Iranian media shared a Lego animation video called Narrative of Victory. No confirmation of the original creator of this video. Lego will not be happy. Yeah, I'd like to know what Denmark feels about this. This is supposed to be a childhood toy. This is supposed to not be used for war propaganda. It's supposed to be for, creative passion of children. That's what I did. I grew up with Lego. I never thought it'd be used for war. Unless it was like make-believe war that we were playing. But anyway, here we go with this one. And then it says, in remembrance of the students from Minab, again, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing it, who are martyred at the hands of Zionists and American terrorists. So, again, it is just kind of interesting that, these supposed people that are supposed to be, anti-Western and they don't represent true human values. They're not civilized. That's why we got to go over there and liberate them. You got to liberate them. We got to teach them about Western culture. Well, the thing about Iran, and I know this because I have seen people that have gone to Iran. I have seen people travel there. That's why I don't believe the narrative that they keep chanting death to America. Oh, they want Americans dead. Well, if that was the case, Anthony Bourdain wouldn't be there twice and said how impressive it was. Rick Steves from PBS wouldn't have been there and said how remarkable it is. They wouldn't have travel vlogs of Americans who went over there and said, interesting. They're very compassionate. They welcomed me with open arms. They knew I was American. I told them that I was American, and they welcomed me. Wait a second. That can't be right. I was told that they're maniacs. I was told that they were going to chop my head off. I was told that there are a bunch of jihadi terrorists out there. Oh, that's right. We've been lied to. We've been lied to. Just like you've been lied to about Russia and Ukraine. Just like you've been lied to about Iraq. Just like you've been lied to about Syria. Just like you've been lied to the entire time America's been in war. For the how many years it's been now. You've been lied to ever since. You've been lied to ever since. And this is also why a lot of Americans are being told to refrain from doing this kind of travel and doing this kind of exploration. Because if you actually go and visit these countries, you actually go and visit Iran, or you go to Vietnam, you go to these different areas that you've been told that, oh, they're freaks, that they don't understand, that they don't appreciate Western culture. Um, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing because you are going to get a culture shock. That's what a lot of people experience when they travel to these destinations. So I know right off the hand that all the stuff that's coming out of America, all the stuff that's coming out of Israel, all the stuff that they keep telling you that about Iran and all these, people that are just, they don't understand, all the Muslims around and the Arabs around, they're just they're animals, they're barbaric animals. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. And in fact, if you look at the body count and you look at the aggression that we're putting towards people that just want to survive, no one wants this war, not the Iranians, not us, no one really wants this war except for the barbaric animals that overrule us. Our overlords, they're the barbaric animals. They're the uncivilized population. They're the ones that are causing this chaos. And we really don't know for what reason. But it seems like Iran is dropping these hints about, the Epstein files and being controlled by Netanyahu and Israel. Obviously, Israel wants to have this for the greater Israeli project. They want to dominate the Middle East and eventually make it a global domination. If you look at Pax Judaica, I recommend going checking out Professor Zhang. Does a lot of videos explaining that better in detail than I would. There's a lot of things with that. Here's another one. Iran's trolling of Trump is brutal. Iran's now posting Lego videos. So here's another one. Well, I gotta say, I think the moral of the story of this is don't underestimate countries like Iran. Don't underestimate countries that you think that are just you've been lied to about. That you think that, oh well, because they're not like us, that obviously they're just dumb and stupid or anything like that, because what these AI videos are showing us is not only are they kind of very similar to us when it comes to a sense of humor. I mean, using Lego and making these AI animation videos to expose this war and expose Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu. It's stuff that we as, Westerners would find hilarious and funny, and obviously we do it as a culture. And now we're kind of associating that with Iran, but also in the fact that, as you're being told all these lies about how easy it's going to be. And I think the reason behind Donald Trump's decision of doing this is because he thought it was an easy decision. He's always been fed lies, whether it being Benjamin Netanyahu lying to him straight to his face, being compromised by that, or even his own administration. Because let's face it, Marco Rubio is a neocon. Lindsey Graham is a neocon. A lot of people within Trump's administration, even though they claim to be Maha or MAGA, they still have connection to being neocons, because that's their desire. That's their holy desire of being these bloodthirsty animals. So my theory is the fact that, one, Trump is compromised by Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's also getting fed horrible information. And considering the fact that America just shortly before this kidnapped the Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro, and thought it was just an easy capture, we can easily just do that anywhere in the world, tried to do a carbon copy with Iran because he was told Iran was doing this, and with the protesters and all the dead bodies that were occurring, obviously we got to do something about this, Mr. President. Trump thought it was going to be an easy score. But obviously, it was not. Obviously, it is backfiring because Trump does not understand the buildup of this. Iran has been building up its military for over 20 years. And the reason for it is because they knew America was going to strike. They knew that this war was going to happen. They knew that these negotiations were going to be false. That's why they're not negotiating now, because every time they try to negotiate, what happens? A bomb explodes. A drone strike happens. They kill off the peace talks, and then they get them into war, which is exactly what America and Israel want. So, while America has been trying to bombard the entire world with its endless neocon regime change wars that I thought were supposed to be ending under the Trump administration, clearly it's not. Which goes to show you that the entire system is corrupt. No matter if you get a politician in there like Hillary Clinton or a repugnant game show host like Donald Trump, it doesn't matter. The whole entire system is corrupted. And while America has been doing that and, spending trillions of dollars, going further and further in debt, killing off more innocent lives, just making an absolute disaster of the entire world and itself, Iran has been building up its military for 20 plus years. And that's why they're able to go full on, just say, you know what? We're done with this. We're done tiptoeing around the United States. We're done trying to pretend that they care about negotiations, when in the end, they want to take over. They want to take over. They obviously want to take over the resources. They want to take over the Strait of Hormuz. They want to, extract Iranian oil, even though America and Canada and other places around the world already have oil reserves. But apparently we need Iranian oil because Iranian oil is just easier to get. Which, that's a whole different conversation we can get into. But I gotta admit, these are pretty impressive. These are pretty impressive. When it comes to propaganda, it's pretty impressive. We're not regurgitating, Iranians are not regurgitating stuff we already know is a lie 20 years ago and trying to fool people into going to war again. And I just find it embarrassing. I find it embarrassing that someone like me, I'm 30 years old. I was a child when the Iraq invasion happened in the early 2000s. And I can remember how much of a lie the weapons of mass destruction line is onto people than people older than me. People that are older than me and should know better about this, should know what catastrophic lies that the Bush administration put us through. They completely wiped that out of their memories now. They think that, Trump's going to fight the Iranian regime and going to liberate women by bombing them, by bombing a school full of young children. That's definitely liberating, right? That's definitely liberating. So, say what you want about Iranians, say what you want about other countries. Again, moral of the story is don't underestimate their power. Don't underestimate them because they're resilient, they're tough, they're smart. And if you look at the history of Iran, they're one of the oldest cultures, they're one of the oldest civilizations to dawn the earth. And a lot of it's kind of showing here. Like they're not messing around. They're not messing around. They're not dumb. They're not stupid. They're not blinded. They know what's going on. They know the truth that's going on. And they're showcasing this in a kind of interesting, hilarious way. Like they're trying to connect with the rest of the world using AI and making memes about this, which is how it's connecting, how people are taking it in and kind of sympathizing with Iran. And because we know, like I said, United States, Israel, the propaganda is wearing out. They can't fool us anymore. We're awakened to just the years and years of lies that they poured onto us. And I all I could say is, it's pretty impressive that they're using this kind of technology. I'd really like to know what Denmark thinks using Lego to initialize war propaganda, because Lego's supposed to be an innocent childhood game. See what children use just to create imagination, but I'll give it to them. It was pretty remarkable.